Apparently, I can't figure out time zones. I hope you guys, obviously, you guys can. So thank you so much for people that joined on time. For me, I was looking at 11:30 for some reason. That was incorrect. I set it up for 10:30, which is Central though, so it's 11:30 Eastern. Thank you so much for joining. We had earlier on, we had Luciano. Thank you so much for jumping on. I hope you're able to rejoin. Eternal Render. Yeah, I know there's so much Habs content. So this is kind of a reboot of our in-season Red Wings coverage. The plan is to go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, as we did last year, and we'll put up a bunch of content about the Red Wings, the Detroit Red Wings, who are made some significant offseason moves, and now we're going to see in the real world like how that turns out. We've had 2 games, 4 goals against in each of them. Not great. And the defense, they went hardcore on this older defense, and it does not look good, which I was worried about when I saw it. It's like Ben Sherrod is terrible. This is not good. We know Gossip Bear can't play 5-on-5. He's terrible. So what are we doing? Good morning to Real Deal Prime. Thank you for joining. Sebastian, I hope that you were there. No, it was me that made the mistake. It's my fault. Late breaking news. Kirby Dach will be out long term. This is terrible news. This guy cannot get healthy. Another guy that can't get healthy is Robbie Fabry for Detroit. Both these guys seem to be snake bitten. Robbie Fabry, once again, after 1 game, already out, and they called up Zach Aston Reese. And then they sent Zach Aston Reese, the Detroit Red Wings did, to the AHL, and they called up Austin Czarnik. I mean, Detroit's AHL team is too good. There's too many guys down there that should be in the NHL. Like Jonatan Berggren should not be in the AHL. Arguably, Elmer Soderblom is ready for this team. Simon Edmondson's probably the 2nd or 3rd best D-man on that team. If you have him, Wallman, and Seider, none of those other guys are as good. If you threw him in there and put Ali Mata with him and then figure out, like, Justin Hall's been pretty good for Detroit. So I don't know what's going on. The AHL team's kicking butt right now. And, the goals, they let out a lot of shots in the AHL the other day against Kosa. And Kosa had a .953 save percentage of that game. That was good news. He did not have a good camp. Yeah, it was my mistake. Sorry, guys. So terrible news about Doc. Good morning, Enertap. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be back. Enertap is anytime you want to come on, just like we should book maybe once or twice a month or something, and you can come on. And I know Red Wings aren't your thing, but I'm always excited to have you on. If you want to join, please let me know. Wow, this is terrible news. Sebastian, things are pretty good. Not too bad at all. Monahan will take up the slack. There's a guy that's also been snake bitten with injuries. It's really derailed his career because he was clicking ever since he came into the NHL and just not working out the last 4 years. Here comes Wah. Which Wah? What do you mean by that? So Tenorti, is that how Doc got hurt? I didn't see this. DeBrincat has been kicking butt in Detroit. So we have 2 players that were acquired in the offseason. The forwards are looking pretty good. And it's not Kopp and it's not Comfer. Like these are 2 the higher paid guys. It's Sprong. Sprong has a rocket of a shot, guys. If you've not watched Daniel Sprong, and he's bounced around, like he's been in Washington, he's been in Seattle, scored 20 goals in Seattle last year, limited playing time on 3rd line, and on after getting booted, like Daniel Sprong is a total steal for Detroit. This guy, even if he does score 20 goals from the 3rd, but he might be able to score more from a higher line. I don't see what the problem with him is. Like, what am I missing? He's not defensively like a problem. And DeBrincat is on pace for 120 goals? I don't know. We'll take a look at that. Great. Let me know your schedule. If you want to message me, I don't know if we're on Facebook together. You should just try to add me on Facebook and we can get on Messenger. Or, I'll text you. I don't know how. I don't even have your phone number, I don't think. Tenorti, fine $200,000. What? Ought to be, yeah. The NHL needs to be tough on players doing dirty hits and injuring others. Tough week ahead for the Wings. Well, so Columbus is the game tonight. Do we think that's a tough game? I mean, you'll get to see Adam Fantilli Patrick Laine's conversion to center seems to be working pretty well, and they put Sillinger on the wing, which is interesting. So that's kind of interesting. The Pens are, listen, anybody that counted out Malkin and Crosby, wrong. Big years last year. Now they missed the playoffs, but that was more due to goaltending. So this really boils down again. They brought in Alex Nedeljkovic, who did not do well in Detroit last year, but I think there was defensive problems in Detroit. I mean, Sherratt was terrible, and he was playing top line minutes for a long time. They got to understand this was, he's making less than $5 million a year. At some point, Wallander and Wallander looks like he might even be close to being ready. Wallander and Edmondson is ready now. I mean, if Owen Power is getting $8.2 million, why is Simon Edmondson in the AHL? If you watch these guys, there ain't much difference. I mean, I really don't think there is. 2 wins for Detroit this week. Well, that would be nice. They had a big win on the weekend against Tampa. Tampa looking like something's missing there. Oh, it is. It's called Vasilevsky. Getting their asses kicked in net. Like, it's not good. Johansson's not an answer. They have to do something. I don't know what they do, but they've got to make a move. I mean, listen, I would not count out anybody. Calgary is like weird right now. I don't know they're not terrible, but they're not great. Buffalo. We like Buffalo. I don't think that's true. Pittsburgh is not. How is Pittsburgh a geriatric team? I don't get this. Why would anybody say that? I don't get that. Wow. Ugh. So is the Doc injury, so we close that out, is that a knee injury? I'm kind of curious. All right, so just, quickly, if you look at Pittsburgh, who's coming up, well, let's look at Pittsburgh at some point. Let's look at Columbus. We'll start off, they won on the weekend against our friends and the Toronto Maple Leafs nemesis, the Tampa Bay Lightning. Is this the crossing of the chasm for the Tampa Bay Lightning? The only issue, really, to be honest with you, is the goaltending. And we saw it again yesterday. They lost 5-2 to Ottawa. And like some of the goals, not so great. I mean, it's really hard to win when you're letting in 4 and 5 goals a game. And then you look at the Detroit game. Detroit let in 4 goals, but Tampa let in 6. So they're in trouble. Okay. So, the game on Saturday, I guess it was 6-4 final for the Red Wings. And we saw great performances. Daniel Sprong getting his second of the year. Stammer scored. Hagel looks good. Hagel scored. And then DeBrincat scores. DeBrincat looking real good right now. Lucas Raymond is looking very good. I'd be shocked if he's not like a 70, 80 point guy this year. DeBrincat, I was thinking, without Patrick Kane is like a 27 goal guy. I was seeing him play on the periphery a lot, but no. This guy can shoot from high. He's got such a great shot. He's a much better skater than I realized. So he got his 3rd of the season there. Mo Seider looking legit. I mean, I think the biggest problem right now are the old-ass defensemen they brought in. Petrie, Sherratt, terrible. Justin Hull's been pretty solid and Mata's fine. And they sat out Mata the first game. Ghost-a-Bear. So there's 3 guys there. Ghost-a-Bear, Sherratt, and Petrie. Just move on. Like, just write that off. Okay? These guys are terrible. Edvinsson, if you threw him in and you threw in even, like I would suspect, even if you just threw in Edvinsson and you push those other guys down and you had Mata, Edvinsson, Wallman's very good. If you haven't watched Wallman, he is legitimately a top 3 defenseman in the NHL, and Mo Seider. If that's your top 4, and then you push the other guys down, it's going to be a lot better. And Hull, as a 5'6", is pretty solid. So then you suffer with, they dressed 7 defensemen. That wasn't even enough. They still let in like 4 goals, 2 games in a row here. But this is good news. Like, you've got DeBrincat pumping, and this was the big season, big off-season acquisition, 4 points in 2 games, 3 goals, great start. That's what you needed from this guy. Daniel Sprong. Like, Daniel Sprong inexpensive, goal a game at this point. It's very early, but if you watched him in preseason and training camp, and now he's got a rocket of a shot. He's a bigger body than I realized. Like, he's hard to move off the puck. He's got good speed, and I don't see him as a defensive liability. So I think all of these things are good. Steve G, thank you so much for joining. Sonia, thank you so much. Wow, Grega John joined. Let's see. I saw someone else. Oh, Mark D. Thanks, Mark. Stevie, I claimed all the Habs garbage D, man. Yeah, it's bad, man. It's not good. Now, I think he knew, like, the Sherrod thing last year was not an aberration. And he's not going to sit around because he has options, right? The Yzerplan, for the most part, they were good off-season moves. Like bringing in James Reimer, I think is going to be really good. Alex Laine is a third goalie, and running with three goalies, that's not bad. Because Husso right now is just being victimized by, like, how many breakaways can you give the other team in a game? That's not NHL hockey. That's Sherrod. It's crazy. Like, they leave him out to dry. It's insanity. Ugh. Grega John, my friend, how are you doing? Well, the Yzerplan is very, very long-term. Cup run by 2035. It really feels like that. However, that I'm trying to be patient, but if you look at what's going on, like, I think Rasmussen can play a bigger role, and I don't think he's a winger. I think he's a better centerman. Like, they were in the playoff hunt last year with Rasmussen at center, and then he got hurt. Robbie Fabry, I love Robbie. I've watched Robbie since he's like 14. A friend of mine coached him when he was in the GTHL. It was him versus Connor McDavid. If you go back, you'll see that crazy age group in the GTHL championship and the OHL Cup. He's a great player. He just cannot stay healthy. He's a smaller guy, and he just takes a lot of punishment early, and he's had 2 or 3 major knee injuries. So this is just not working out. And they got options other than Austin Czarnik and Zach Aston Reese. They've got Jonatan Berggren should not be in the AHL. He's already got 3 points in 2 games. Elmer Soderblom, he's got some problems in his game, but by all accounts, he should be in the NHL. Like, I don't get it. I just think bring these guys up and put him in a top 6 role. Like, Jonatan Berggren should be top 6. He had a very good training camp. He had 15 goals in limited action last year. He can get 25 goals. You watch him. He's highly skilled. He's on every puck. He knows what's going on, and he gels really well with Lucas Raymond. Oh, cool. $1 to $2 million fine for, are you saying that for Tenorti? If Shanahan and Stevie trade tips, well, Toronto's a very good team. Toronto's got so much more talent than Detroit, except that defense is horrible. That's like self-inflicted. So maybe that's what you were talking about. The defense is really bad. $200K to $2 million fines to send a message to the players. I don't think Tenorti makes $2 million, does he? What's his contract? Sebastian, I'm excited to have you here. They need to remove that goalie rule in the back of the net. Goalies should be allowed to roam everywhere in the zone again. That sounds like a terrible idea. We already have so many injuries. Just leave the rules. Let's stop screwing around with the rules. How's that? All right. So I think that, looking ahead to tonight, Columbus Blue Jackets, Detroit Red Wings. Columbus in the offseason, this is a team also on the fast rebuild. The biggest thing was the draft, right? So they get Adam Fantilli. People may or may not know, like, I work with the Everett Silvertips. Our coach was the coach for Team Canada. Adam Fantilli started on the top line, ended up on the 4th line in the World Juniors. He tries to do everything himself. He's got all the skills and talent. I don't think he was that popular with the players, but he's got so much skill. I thought with Mike Babcock, he would get things together. Obviously, Babcock's, torpedoed himself, and that career is probably over. I think Fantilli needs time to mature, and I hope that happens. Otherwise, this could be, I don't know. He's just too big and talented not to be successful. But I thought that about Cody Glass too, and Cody Glass's career has never been that. They already have Johnny Gaudreau. Their number 1-2 center is Boone Jenner, but that's not true. Although look at Boone Jenner has 4 points in 2 games, 3 goals in 2 games. So he is clicking. Marchenko, if you've ever watched this guy, I'm surprised he hasn't scored yet, but he's a very, very good player. So they've got some players here. Kent Johnson, I would suspect it'll be an interesting year for him. But I think the biggest changes for this team, aside from bringing Fantilli in the forward line, and Patrick Laine, he's been playing center. So I don't know where Laine's. Oh, there he is. This is really interesting. He asked to play center. The defensive side of the puck is always his problem. But man, this guy's a monster and he can shoot. And if he can stay healthy, that'll be really, really important. So that's tough. If he's in the lineup, the real deal here is David Jiricek. Jiricek scores in his first game. He's just like, Simon Edmondson. He's in the AHL. He comes up 1 game in and he scores. And you watch this guy. He had big numbers in the AHL. He might end up being the top 1 or 2 draft picks out of that draft year. That's saying a lot. Like this is a crazy, crazy thing. But 2022, he's 6'4". He skates really well. He's got a rocket of a shot. I mean, this is an 03 born player. He's not even 20 yet. Not even 20 yet. And he looks like a number 1 defenseman right now. Ivan Provorov coming over from Philadelphia, I think that's going to really pay dividends. And Damon Severson's a good pickup. Werenski is hurt again. So this was a big problem last year with Werenski. Thank goodness they have all these other guys. Like Provorov arguably is a number 1-2 defenseman. And then here we are back in this whole net situation. Ms. Lurkin's has got a good start, so that's important. The Wizard of Oz there. Are they? I mean, aside from Cole Caulfield, who else? Suzuki. No Kirby Doc's going to be not good. Well, I think Vernon and Waugh times, oh man, if you go back, I'm not sure how great. The Canadians are an awesome force. I think that's a no. A competitive team will give them fits to the playoffs. Yeah. This is not a team that's ready. So long of the short of it, that's the matchup tonight against the Columbus Blue Jackets. If we just take a look at both the lineups. Where's our friend Columbus? So they've been running Laine. They moved up Adam Fantilli to the left wing. Now, coach kept saying for Adam in the World Junior Championships, he's never played wing before. Let me tell you something. He was not going to play center on that team. He's not good enough. And he's a year older than Connor Bedard. Connor Bedard, we can see now the separation between him and Adam Fantilli. It's not size or talent. It's something else. And his game sense is so superior to anyone, plus his shot, obviously, Bedard. But Fantilli has all the tools. That's not his issue. He tries to do everything himself. And I don't, ideally this is your number 1 center at some point, but he ain't ready. So it looks like they switched between Sillinger and Fantilli because they had Sillinger up on the wing with Laine and Teixeira. Kirill Marchenko, he's a threat. Kent Johnson will be interesting to see how he does this year. And the Jack Roslovic experiment as their number 1 center, I guess, is over. Because right now he's playing 4th line minutes. I think Cole Sillinger, he had a sophomore slump. But that'll help. So this is not an overwhelming, fantastic lineup, but there are weapons there, right? Johnny Gaudreau, Boone Jenner, Kirill Marchenko as the second line are really producing. Laine remains a bit of a defensive problem, probably, but he seems to work out pretty well at center. He wants to take a leadership role. I think you let him. It's going to be interesting to see how Fantilli adjusts. Because the only thing that's going to hold Fantilli back are his decisions and his brain. Jake Bean, Eric Goodbranson, Provorov, Jiricek is the real deal here. I like Adam Bachvist, although I thought Bachvist was a right shot. Am I wrong? Damon Severson, also a right shot. Jake Bean, a good acquisition from Carolina, has been real solid. So thank goodness they made all these offseason defensive moves with another injury to Zach Werenski. How long is he out? I am not sure. That will be interesting. So you think 4-2 tonight? Maybe, but the problem is this in Detroit. The defense is horrific. We have a serious problem. Until moves are made, the DeBrincat, Larkin, Raymond line, Raymond looks like on point. He looks a little bit bigger and stronger. He's the first on every puck. Larkin seems to be playing within his capabilities. I think Lucas Raymond settles that line down. And DeBrincat is a much higher skilled player, much better passer than I realized. And obviously, he can shoot. Andrew Copp, JT Compher, and Rasmussen. I find this interesting because I think Joe Veleno is showing that he can push up into the lineup. He's ready to produce 12, 15 goals. One day you could see him being a 20-goal scorer. Andrew Copp, I have no idea what he can produce. What did he get last year? Did he get 10 goals? He might have got 10 goals. Like Andrew Copp last year was not an offensive force. He got a lot of assists. But if you look at Andrew Copp, I am not sold on this. Yes, he's a Detroit guy. Yes, he's a little older. 9 goals and 42 points. And it's interesting because his face-off percentage was really horrific last year. But he ended up being 49.8, so that's interesting. So he ended up getting, and if you look historically, it actually has been over 50%. So I think he just started slow and it ended up okay. But I just don't know. Like, he's had a couple 20-goal seasons. He's got to get back to that level to justify what they paid him. And then Compher was never really able to carve out a spot for himself as the number one center in Colorado. They went to Ryan Johansson, right? And they also moved on from the Newhook, who went to Montreal, obviously. How's he doing, by the way? How is Newhook doing in Montreal? I haven't really kept up on that already. I know it's only a few games. But Andrew Copp, I mean, this feels, I don't know. If he can get 20 goals and 30, 40 assists, then you're like, sure, that's great, But right now, I just don't see it offensively. He's not an offensively creative player. And then we've got our good friend, JT Compher, who was acquired. And they're showing him on the wing already, which is weird. Perron, Perron's Perron. He's going to end up with 24, 25 goals. Sprong looks like he's really on point right now, which is great. I like Klim Kostin. The Christian Fischer is a good fourth-line pickup. So I don't know. To me, why would you not have Jonatan Berggren in this lineup, guys? Now, is this significantly better than Columbus? I'm not sure about that. I mean, your top line will probably perform more consistently because I think there's maybe some questions there. He should be. He's had injury problems. So I don't know how, I don't know if he's lazy. I'm not sure about that. I know that he's a weird guy to communicate with. He's like a stoic Finn. He's really hard on himself. It's hard to kind of communicate with him, is what I understand. He is as good as Tage Thompson. And Tage Thompson was not that, he had injury problems. Another big, tall guy, like 165 and 167. Like Tage Thompson's 6'7", guys. But he's a will-o-wisp, right? But he can really shoot the puck. He's got great skill. He always had skill. You don't think there's any chance for him? I think it could be. Adam, thank you so much. Vegas is a scoring machine. Listen, I have to give credit to Eichel. I'm not his biggest fan, but man, he produced in the playoffs last year, and he looks like, he's got a cup before McDavid, so that worked out really well. Yeah, I don't know. I think Winnipeg did what they did, right? They moved on from Laine for a reason. Is Doc out long-term? It sounds like it, yes. It would not be out of the question. Losing Riley Smith to Pittsburgh, though, hurts. Like, for whatever, Riley is a fast player who can score 25, 27 goals, and he's going to do that in Pittsburgh, maybe more. You never know, playing with Malkin and Crosby. Laine? Kovalev's way better than him, though. I don't know. Laine likes to score goals, and he's very capable. He had injuries last year, right? So he's got to stay healthy. Ms. Lurkins. So, that means, I don't know who that means. Who's in net? Who are the starting goaltenders? Let's take a look. Starting NHL goalies. What is it, red line or? Roto World. So they got Reimer versus Spencer Martin tonight. Now, Reimer's capable of stealing games, and this is what you want him in for, is against these teams. And Spencer Martin was what? He was in Vancouver, right? And he's like a career 3.85 goals against average. So that's good news for Detroit. It is very, very hard to repeat. Of course. Are they a bad team? No, they're a great team. They might have the best defense in the NHL. They won with Adin Hill in net. And Adin Hill, I don't think is a true like number one goalie, but he didn't have to be. I think that there's a lot of, personally, I hope that it's Edmonton. Edmonton is who I pulled for last year. They ran into that Florida juggernaut. I think that Edmonton's on a mission to win a cup, and they've got all the pieces, maybe one or two off. They're not far off. Edmonton's real good. Reinbacher is injured. Woo. That's not good. Your 18-year-old defenseman. If you look at his body, guys, have you seen Reinbacher? He does not look like he's a super athletic guy. Like, I would have been like, go to the gym for a year. The Canadiens team is not the same as last season. They're not that much better. Reinbacher's hurt. That's really interesting. Oh my God. Do you guys think they're going to make the playoffs? Detroit makes the playoffs before Montreal. What? Oh my God. Eichel could be a Selke contender? What? That's ridiculous. Yeah. Wait, so is Stone out? No, Stone's still in, right? Elvis has left the building. Oh, okay. My cat never stops eating. Well, maybe stop putting food down and leaving for your cat. Just feed it once a day. All right. Thank you, RJ Calabro, for the update on the schedule tonight. So, yes, tonight we have Detroit versus Columbus at 7 p.m. Chicago and Toronto. Are you interested in seeing that? Florida and New Jersey, Calgary versus Washington, and then Arizona. Do not count out Arizona. Have you watched Logan Cooley yet? Logan Cooley, that might be the best draft pick of that entire draft. The one where everyone's like, Shane Wright. No, Shane Wright ain't that good. Slavkovsky, I have bad news for you. What do you guys think of that Slavkovsky pick? You could have had Logan Cooley. Hello. Was anybody surprised that Simon Nemec is not on the roster in New Jersey? Because he had a very good preseason. This is another defenseman ready for the NHL. Hello. Why is Hughes on over him? I mean, Hughes is ready. Hughes is very good. Edmonton can't win. Bad demon. What bad demon? Darnell Nurse? Matthias Ekholm? What? What are you talking about? Evan Bouchard? Broberg? You've got, Cody Ceci, I'm not a big fan of, but when I watched him, he's okay, but I don't love him. I'm not a big fan of him, but that's not going to break them. I mean, that's a support defenseman, right? Who are the bad defensemen in Edmonton? Tell me a defenseman on that team that you would not want. Anybody would want Darnell Nurse on that team. I mean, that is a legit number one athletic defenseman that can, I think he's better than Seth Jones. What don't you like here? And Brett Kulak I like. In that 5-6 role? If you watch Broberg, they play this crazy run and gun game. I don't think they have bad defensemen at all. Is it bad team defense? But I think that shores up, I think if you look at, they have breakout potential from Dylan Holloway if you watch him. The top 6 in this team is stupid. Like, it's so good. Connor Brown, it's interesting they're bumping him down. He wasn't really jiving. When you watch him on the wing with McDavid and Kane, it was not working out. He was throwing away the puck. He was making mistakes. But that defense, I think that's the envy of a lot of teams. This is a very good group. Like, who wouldn't? Bouchard might get 70 points. Why not? Why wouldn't Nurse win you a cup? Ekholm and Nurse? Have you watched Darnell Nurse? Darnell Nurse is maybe one of the most underrated defensemen in the NHL. If that's what you're thinking, he's physical and mean, and he can skate, and he's got a big shot, and he's a gamer. He's like he wants to win. That's an unusual defenseman. He is no bum. Bouchard, you watch him. He's a much better skater than when he first came in the league. He's got a bomb of a shot. Probably needs to work a little bit defensively. I mean, he's a number 3, in my opinion. And Ekholm is like a gamer. Who's not in shape? Bouchard? Are you saying because his face? I think he's probably better shape than you think. He just has a weird face. Listen, nobody's Peter Angelo. Theodore, I don't see why Theodore is better. Theodore is not better than Darnell Nurse. Nobody's Peter Angelo. I mean, you show me a defenseman who in the NHL is like Alex Pietrangelo. I'm waiting because I can't think of one. But, coach had said, oh, Pietrangelo is washed up before they won the cup. And we were arguing about it because, I know the guy. I think he's, always been, he's a mature, strong, high offensive IQ, big shot, wants to win. When he decides something, the world's going to fall into place. That's the way Alex Pietrangelo is. He's a very unusual individual. I think this is where Buffalo is. Buffalo, I think Buffalo's going to have problems in net. Seider is going to get, Seider is up there with Dahlin. He's better than Power, in my opinion. Power got the money, but honestly, Power's played 1 year. If you watch Mo Seider, I have a hard time deciding. I think I would rather have Mo Seider, but it's close between him and Power. But Dahlin is another animal. There's nobody like that in Detroit. But if you add Simon Edmondson in, I think Simon Edmondson's a step below Owen Power, and Mo Seider is maybe at par or above. Dahlin makes you great. And then, Tage Thompson, obviously his career's turned into something special, right? So who is Detroit's Tage Thompson? I mean, if it's Daniel Sprong, you're in trouble. Larkin is not that animal. Lucas Raymond is not a big scorer that way. He's a very good playmaker. He's great forechecker. He can shoot the puck, and he's super high hockey IQ. If you have him paired with Jonatan Berggren, that's going to give you offense. Daniel Sprong shown he can score. DeBrincat is much better, but none of those guys are Tage Thompson. And then you got another big, powerful guy in the second line in Buffalo with, Dylan Cousins. I don't see Joe Veleno becoming that. I don't see Rasmussen becoming that. Rasmussen could be a very, very useful, but he's not what Dylan. He's never been the skater that Dylan Cousins is, right? I think they're from the same. Are they from the same draft? I have to check. Yeah, I have no love for Eichel whatsoever. Matthews gets another Hattie tonight. Wouldn't that be something? 9 goals in the first 3 NHL games. He's going for it. There's no way Eichel is as good as McDavid. McDavid, if you watch him, is another level over every NHL player. There's no comparison there. That's not even. That's not why Vegas won the cup. Vegas has been in the cup hunt since they entered the NHL. Mark Stone is a big reason why. Who's the Mark Stone on Edmonton? You could say a Zach Hyman, but I don't think so. It's close-ish, not really. I mean, Mark Stone's really, really good. There's no Peter Angelo on any team in the NHL. Peter Angelo in St. Louis is why they won the cup. If you know what happened in that dressing room with Mike Yeo, Peter Angelo, this is what I was told through someone that knows Fabry's parents, that Peter Angelo said, we're not playing for this guy anymore. And he told Robbie and everybody, you're not playing. That's it. You're not playing for this guy anymore. And they shut it down. They went on a 9-game losing streak last in the NHL early on. Get rid of him, bring in Berube. He goes, okay, we're going to turn around. And that's what they did. That's why they won. And I think that there was some bad animosity there with Alex because he's a very commanding presence. And that's why they moved on from him, because it made no sense. And so he's still angry about not being re-signed in St. Louis. And, I knew, and I said to coach, they're going to win at some point with him. Theodore is great because he's got a lot of support. I mean, I've watched Theodore since he's in the WHL. Very talented. if you take away Alex Pietrangelo, is Theodore what he is? I don't know about that. Arizona, I'm telling you, the goalie is really good. This is a really smart acquisition. Logan Cooley is awesome. Clayton Keller looks great with Logan Cooley. Dylan Guenther looks quiet. Bouchard is not McAvoy. Bouchard's a number 3 defenseman. Nurse is far from horrible. Yeah, Seth Jones, I'm not a huge fan of. Man, Keller could get 90 points. I mean, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes what you're saying, Mark, makes no sense. Defense in the league is behind schedule. Well, I think that Edmonton's playing a transition game, and that's what they played last year, and it takes a while to dial that in. Toronto plays that game. Like there's teams that are like, oh, we got to score 350, 400 goals this year to get in the playoffs. That's the word around the NHL. And the NHL is a very copycat league. They're not saying, oh, we're going to play. The teams that play like a tight defensive system aren't making the playoffs. They need teams that can produce big time offense and then tighten up the D. So what Enertap is saying here is, I believe, accurate, which is the teams that are really going to contend, it's a balance now. It's about the depth on your D and everybody fulfilling their responsibilities as opposed to a system that limits the forechecking. Because what they're trying to do is if you can score 5-on-5 and on the power play, you're in the playoffs. A lot of teams can only score on the power play. And if you have that lockdown style, it screws 5-on-5, and then you're in this ticky-tack style on special teams, right? You're hoping you score on your special teams to get your 2 or 3 goals a game. That's not what's happening the last 2 years. The NHL has these high-flying talents, and coaches are employing them. The younger coaches are pushing the tempo, and then it's up to the team to figure out, okay, everyone's responsibilities in little battles is what's going to bring the goals against average down. And they're relying on big goalies for that reason, because they're trying to give up certain shots and not others. And they're trying to limit the East-West. So it's kind of like, whew, why? That's a pretty team. He's paid less than Austin Matthews. That contract's going to seem super cheap. And the cap is going up $4.5 million. They have no issue in Edmonton. It's really, honestly, like Jack Campbell is not a fit for that team. Skinner is. They got to figure out another goalie. And they probably need, if they had one more, well, I mean, everybody wants one more D. If they had one more really, really good D, like Ekholm, Nurse, Bouchard. I like Broberg, but I'm not sure if he's a top 4. If they had a number 4, number 3 type guy, that would probably tip the balance. I don't love Cody Ceci. I don't think you win with that. So it's at that point, it's not about subtracting anything. It's like, what can you add? And I think Dylan Holloway is just showing, hey, I could be a big time player too. He looks really good. You're counting Nurse when he was hurt. He was good in the playoffs last year. What was bad about Nurse last year? The year before he was hurt, right? It was the other way around. Was it last year he was hurt? I can't remember. But when he was on, he was fine. What was wrong with him? I think Nurse is a big time defenseman. Yeah, this is not good. So this is interesting. Saw this, RJ. There's no comparison between Pietrangelo and Alex and Jacob Trouba. Like, Alex is just a 0. That's just not. And Duncan Keith is nothing like Pietrangelo. Pietrangelo is a 6'4" guy that can skate. He's mean. He makes some mistakes in transition, but then he's able to recover because he can skate. He can shoot, but he's very, very mentally, like, he will dominate everything and take games over, and that's what he does. That's why he wins. Do you think that the Panthers can beat New Jersey? For sure. I mean, they can. Are they? New Jersey looks real good. Jack Hughes looks crazy, right? New Jersey, moving on from Mackenzie Blackwood, I think Mackenzie's career is derailed by post-vid issues, right? That's really what's going on there. Just like Jonathan Toews, just like Sutter had to retire. Not good. Alex Lyons seems to have overcome it somehow. Wow, it's interesting that people think Nurse sucks, because I really don't. If you watch him, I'll take that. Yeah, I mean, it's not untrue. For sure, that's definitely not true. Yeah, I don't know. I think you gotta watch him. I mean, 9.25 was pretty expensive. I mean, I would rather have him at 8.25, but if you like a Owen Power, like, why wouldn't you like a Darnell Nurse? Like, what's the difference? I mean, Nurse is way meaner. Not as big, but pretty close. Well, we'll watch the next games and I'll see. Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but I highly doubt it. I think Nurse is like a pretty special package, and I like Bouchard, but and then Ekholm. So you got those three. I mean, Micro loves the shards. Okay, cool. All right, so I don't want to keep you guys. It's let's see, what else we have on tonight? I mean, have you guys watched Connor Bedard, by the way? What do you guys think? I've seen him play a lot in the WHL. I've seen him play a lot in the World Juniors. I think him in the NHL, it's just shown this guy can rifle the puck, man. We always knew he could shoot, but him picking corners from the point, he's such a. I wasn't sure if his small area intelligence, it really worked everywhere else we've seen it. And you're like, oh, well, now against NHL defensemen and big bodies, it's working the same. Like, he finds little angles and is able to, doesn't have to have any windup and can shoot the puck or can get the puck on somebody else's stick. And he's not making like, oh, I mean, absolutely. We knew he was elite, but I thought he would be, and maybe he still will be, like a 65-point player his first year. Now I'm wondering, is this really a 35, 40 goal scorer already? And maybe he's a 70, 80-point guy? That's what I'm kind of curious about. Interesting comparison. Bedard is the real McCoy for sure, and that's he looks stocky. So how good would Mishkov be if he got over here? Philadelphia might have got the steal of that draft. Well, I don't know. I don't think it's easy to play with McDavid and Draisaitl. They play a run and gun style, and there's a lot of transition against you. That is not a team that gives a crap about forecheck, back check, paycheck, right? Like, they're not playing anything other than to generate for sure. I mean, you can see for sure they're not ready. But Lucas Reichel's very good. What about the young defenseman in Chicago? Kevin Korchinski looks excellent. And then is it Walt Kaiser? Walt Kaiser. If you haven't watched Walt Kaiser yet, you need to watch Walt Kaiser. There are very good parallels between this Chicago team and going back 20 years, like Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews. Like, there's some really, really good parallels here. You've already got your Kane and Bedard, and maybe, Patty can never play center. That never worked. Bedard can absolutely play center. He's got a better shot than Patty Kane. And it took Patty Kane a long time to really produce offensively in a big way, except in the playoffs. Like, he was a gamer, right? Like, absolute gamer. And Jonathan Toews was the mature, 200-foot, does everything really well guy, right? The real captain there. So I don't know. I think the defensive side, like, if you look at the defensive core that was in Chicago going back in the day, you got Korchinski and Kaiser is like, ooh, how did this guy get so good? Like, Kaiser's legitimate. This is a guy that they're not going to make the playoffs by any means. Like, nobody's saying that. This is where they're going to be. Like, Peter Mrazek is your number one goalie. It's like, you ain't making the playoffs, guys, right? Lucas Reichel is an excellent player. Taylor Hall is going to be hurt or underachieve. So he's got really no one around him. He's playing with Ryan Donato. That's just not going to work. Lucas Reichel is really good, though. So really got kind of two pieces here, and that's not a lot else. You got some veteran guys that'll kind of make them competitive night in, night out. Athanasiou looks dangerous, but I don't know if that's going to work. This Vlasic guy's like 6'6". Connor Murphy's a real solid. Wyatt Kaiser, that's it. Wyatt Kaiser. I don't know. You guys just saw him. What did you think? Yeah. I mean, Hedman and Pietrangelo would be very similar. That's right. My top 5. Oh, the upcoming draft. I mean, so I've seen all these guys play. I scouted this age group, so I'm kind of excited. I think this is one of the first years that I was running the US side for Everett. So I've seen these guys since they're like 14. Celebrini is the real deal. I don't know who to compare him to. He's got a really good shot, and he's a good playmaker, and he's a very good skater, and he's got high hockey IQ. Cole Eiserman has big time scoring ability, like big time. Does that translate to his line mates? I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but he's going to score big time no matter what. So, I mean, to me, those are definitely 1 and 2. I think this is correct. Berkeley Caton, if you see him in Spokane, wow. Okay, no doubt about it. He is top 4 in my opinion. So I don't know. I've seen this guy, yeah, from Green Bay, but I haven't seen this guy, I don't think. So I don't know Demidov. If they're rating him ahead of Caton, I always say Caton. I think that's the way you say it, Berkeley. So I don't know. I think this might be correct. I haven't seen this giant left defenseman. So it's interesting there's 2 Russians so high given, global tumult. Do we see them drop off? But from what I see nothing that changes here. I think Macklin goes number 1 and Eiserman goes number 2. And then, what happens after that? Maybe somebody pops up. This guy's actually really impressed me, and you're going to see him in the Memorial Cup because Saginaw's hosting the Memorial Cup. He's got a crazy shot and he's got crazy wheels. Defensively, you got to wonder. And this guy I've seen, but it's been a while. But he's very complete. Oh, interesting. So he's at Michigan now. So I think we'll make a point of watching him. I'll make a point of watching him, and then we can come back and talk about it. But I think for me, yeah, I just haven't seen him. So if he is better than Mishkov, that's saying something. Mishkov looks really, really, really good. Maybe. All right. So tonight, coach is on at 9 p.m. Eastern time. I don't want to keep everybody because I know you've got to jump on tonight. Thank you so much for joining. I'll be back on Wednesday. We can recap what happened in the Columbus game. I don't know. Do they play Tuesday as well? Let's just check out the Detroit Red Wings schedule before we jump off here. I know so many Habs fans joined, so I really appreciate it. Hopefully we can bring back the Red Wings fans. I know I didn't really do it in the offseason. Okay, so Wednesday night is Pittsburgh. And then is this Sunday? I think this is Sunday, right? 19th is Thursday, 20th. Yeah, probably Sunday. So we've got Detroit against Columbus tonight. We'll check in on that. We got Detroit, Pittsburgh on Wednesday, and then on Sunday. So we'll be back on Wednesday morning to recap the Columbus game and preview the Pittsburgh game. And then Friday to look ahead, to recap what happened in the Pittsburgh game. And then we can look ahead to Ottawa, which I'm really interested in seeing. I think Ottawa is going to do maybe better than Buffalo. Buffalo, I'm not convinced Devin Levy is going to work. No offense, but I know he came in with some fanfare. He's a great kid. He's an awesome person. He did great for Team Canada. But I'm not sure about that's going to work out for them. Thank you, Enertap. Well, let's coordinate. I don't know. How do I get you my phone number so you can text me? Yeah, just text me 310-848-7864. All right, guys, have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys on Wednesday. Let's see. I don't know. What's our playout music? I don't have a video for you guys. I'm sorry. I normally have a video. yeah, I don't mind that. It's a crap. You're playing old school. All right, guys. Have a wonderful day. We will see you guys on Wednesday.